Hi, and welcome to the Love How Deep podcast with Brian and Heather Mayer. Our purpose is to equip married couples like you with resources that rely on the transformative power of God's Word to strengthen your relationship. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Love How Deep podcast. We are your hosts, Brian and Heather Mayer, and we're just so excited that you all are choosing to listen to these podcasts, and I hope that you are taking them to heart and applying them to your marriage so that you can have a stronger one. Today's episode is quality time and how it will strengthen your marriage.
And speaking of quality time,
Yes.
I'm over here. Hello.
Oh, hi, babe.
Okay, hi. You just took the episode and just started running with it. So
I'm ready to go. Let's go.
It's
Let's
all
talk about
good.
this.
Well, how are you, first of all?
I'm good.
Doing good today?
Doing good.
You had a nice little visit with some friends. You went to a thrift
We
store.
went thrift store shopping.
Bought some really cool clothes.
I did.
For a very low price. I was very pleased with that.
That's always fun. That's a win in my book.
Yeah. And just so you all know, we're pretty good with our finances, and Heather always does a real good job with making sure she watches the spending and
I have to ask if it's over $5.
yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right. Well, we're sidetracking, but
Yes.
anyway,
Let's go.
we got a really good episode for you.
I think so.
Yeah, I think quality time is one of those things that is very important, obviously.
It is. And it's something that sadly goes by the wayside over time, and just not enough energy is put into that. And with how important it is, it's just the way that you stay connected as a couple. So, yeah, so this is a good one. I'm excited.
Yeah. And, we talk a lot about quality time versus quantity time. And
That's good.
Yeah. And I think we can get that confused and think, oh, well, I'm here all evening. But a lot of times you're making dinner and you're
Watching a show together. Is that quality time or quantity time?
Well, yeah, that could be debatable, I
That's
suppose.
Right.
But
because I think the point of quality time is that you're communicating. And I don't know that you do that as much if you're watching a ball game together or
That's
watching
right.
TV together or going to a movie or you can't talk at the movie.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
yeah.
And then you have kids in the evening a lot of
Yes,
times
that's
that
true.
you have to help them with their homework or get them ready for bed, bathtub, and that type of thing. And so, again, you might be just a few feet away from your spouse, but you're really not getting that good quality time. And that's really what we want to spend talking today on. And there's all kinds of, I think, positive things that can come out of spending good quality time together. So
Absolutely.
I think before we really start talking about that, we want to just let you know what is positive about that. I don't know, Heather, you got a thought about that?
I think that stronger communication comes out of spending quality time together, because when you are spending time together, you're typically talking, and it doesn't matter what you talk about. It doesn't have to be that you're talking about the problems or things like that. It could be that you're sharing dreams with each other and ideas with each other. You're encouraging one another. You're sharing funny stories or whatever. But you're communicating.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the important thing. It just keeps those communication lines open between you and your spouse.
That's right. Yeah, I think communication is very important. Obviously, it's one of the most important things in a relationship because we're human beings, and that's how we interact with each other, through speaking and talking. And a couple of other things, too, that are really important. They're a little bit harder to see sometimes, but emotional closeness is one of those things. And again, that's
Absolutely.
It's a little bit harder to define, but there is something about just the feelings that I might have for you. The more time that we spend together, just the good feelings that usually well up from that are very important. And they're going to happen typically if you spend good quality time together.
Right. Think about when you were dating, you spent all the quality time you could with each other.
That's right.
And you felt very emotionally close. You just wanted to physically be in the same room with that person, no matter what you were doing. It was a priority, and this love for each other developed because you were emotionally close. And why was that? Because you're spending quality time together. It's all a win-win.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another one is increased intimacy. And a lot of times when we think about intimacy, our mind goes straight to sex, which, yes, that is a byproduct, I think, of good quality time. It typically will happen, but it can also mean emotional closeness, just like I talked about before. But I think really what I'm referring to when I say increased intimacy is just being able to be open and transparent and being more willing to share. Mm-hmm. Because, of course, we all know that people that we don't know very well, we're not really going to share. We're not going to be open. We're not going to be talking about the deep kind of issues of our lives.
Right.
And sometimes that can be that way in a marriage. If we're not spending that good quality time together, I might not want to share something or be open about something that is bothersome or that I want to talk about. But I think the more time that I spend with you, Heather, mm-hmm. the more that I'm just feel comfortable doing that.
Right.
So, yeah.
You
got anything else?
Yeah, I think that, many of us are we just live in the land of stress and frustration, and we don't mean to. It just happens, like everything weighs on us. And that's, I think, another podcast of, laying those stresses and frustrations at the feet of Jesus, and not worrying about things. But, kind of back to us, we do carry around a lot of stress and can have frustrations. And spending quality time together can help decrease that, because maybe you're talking to each other about it. Maybe you're helping each other problem solve some situations, whatever it is. So that can actually help decrease some of the stress and frustration that you have. If that makes sense.
I would agree. Mm-hmm. And I had an example of that last night, to be honest. There was just somebody that I was upset about, not related to Heather. And I just was pretty angry, and I just needed a moment just to kind of vent and get it out. And,
you did. Yeah. You did.
And sometimes I know I need to be careful, because it can almost feel like, good grief, am I like leaping volumes of lava, hot lava all over you?
He was, but I think he needed to just get that out.
Yeah.
And
it was interesting. Once I did, I felt so much better.
Yeah.
I felt like the weight of it all kind of came off of me, and
you really did. You got it out of your system, because, you don't want to hold things in. That's not good either. You have to just like verbally just get it out. And then, we prayed together, and
that's true. We did,
and then you had, there was, I think, increased satisfaction in you, that you felt a little bit more at peace.
And then I said, then we went out to dinner,
we did,
which was a quality time. And I remember saying to you, I said, just so you know, I know even in spite of what just happened there, I want you to know, I know our dinner is going to be great. I've got it out of my system. This is fantastic. We're going to have a great time. And we did.
It was good. It was good, because we spent some quality time discussing what was upsetting you, really kind of upsetting both of us, and just getting it out and communicating about that. And I feel like, we were able to set that aside in a good way, not swept under the rug, but set it aside in a good way, and able to enjoy our date night with increased intimacy, emotional closeness, and all of these things were happening kind of all at the same time. So it's so funny, because I didn't even think about that incident last night and how it kind of played into this podcast for today as a good example. So good job, Ryan. High five. High five.
Sometimes I like these unscripted moments in our podcast, because we're real people, and sometimes something will pop up and be something that we think is going to be interesting. And I think one other thing we wanted to talk about, I think you wanted to talk
I do, because this actually leads right into the last one on our list, which is a lower vulnerability to outside influences. And so in the Bible, in Ecclesiastes 4:12, it says, though one may be empowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. And so through our discussion that we were having last night over frustrations and things like that, that led to us praying about this issue, which is that 3-stranded cord of Brian and myself and the Holy Spirit, and just inviting him in to heal us, kind of and bring about forgiveness and things like that. Like, it just made us stronger, so that we can tackle some outside influences in a stronger way, in a better way. So, yeah.
I agree. And to go along with that, I read a book once, I think it was called Not Just Friends. It's actually about affair recovery. And she has this thing she talks about windows and walls. And in a relationship where it's really tight and there's a lot of good time spent with each other, you open up windows to each other, and then you create walls against everyone else, basically. But unfortunately, what ends up happening in a relationship where things like quality time are not happening, you start to open up windows to other people, and the walls start to begin to form between the two of you. And I will tell you, I think you all know, if you don't know, I've been married previously, so has Heather. And in my first marriage, I really do believe that lack of quality time with my first wife was a big contributor to why that marriage failed. I think first and foremost, I don't think God was really in our marriage as much, but that'll be another story that I'm sure I can talk about for days. But since we're talking about quality time, it really didn't help that, we had little kids, and I remember my frame was always like, let's just make sure we pour all of our energy and effort into the kids, and then once they're 18, then we'll have all this time in the world to spend with each other. And that was completely wrong, because 18 years is a very long time.
That's a long time to not be connected. And then you look at each other like, who are you?
That's right.
Our listeners might feel themselves in that same position.
Yep. And my first marriage lasted about 5 years, and it really lasted 2 years after my daughter was born. And so that tells you how quickly my thought that a lack of quality time will be okay. It didn't even sustain for 18 years. It sustained for a year or two, and then that was it. So with that, you want to talk a little bit about how quality time sort of weaves into this really cool book that I think we love, and we share it with just about every couple that we work with, right?
We do. We love the book, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, and many of you may have heard of it. You may have read it. You can go online and take the quick little quiz and find out what your love language is. But it is so eye-opening to help you understand yourself better, of how you receive love and how you give love and show love to others, and also to understand your spouse in a new way of like, oh, you receive love that way. So when I do this, you don't feel loved from that. You mean I need to do that? And yeah, it's very eye-opening to understand more about your spouse and how you can love them in a better way, and just strengthen your marriage. And so real quickly, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, he talks about words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, physical touch, and quality time. So that's the one that we're going to talk about today, the quality time, and how important that is. And when we were preparing for this, Brian kind of joked and said, well, maybe you know about this book, and maybe you feel like quality time is the least on your list of, it's not even, doesn't even make the top 4. It's number 5 for you. So you just feel like, I'm going to turn this off. This doesn't apply to me or my spouse. And that's okay. That's okay. We get it.
and probably, I doubt that's actually the case, because I think in all the years that we ask our couples to read the book, to take the quiz, and then we talk to them, typically I notice quality time is pretty high up there.
It is.
Usually it's gifts, is that toward the bottom for a lot of people. Physical touch sometimes is at the bottom.
It may be really high for one and on the bottom of the list for others. I mean,
but I notice quality time typically is it's in the middle or it's higher. Yeah. So anyway, so keep listening.
Yeah. Yes.
So where are you at with quality time when it comes to your
quality time? Is my number 2. It's my number 2.
Okay.
So it is,
so
and
high.
it's like right there at the top of the list with my first one, which is physical touch. So I love that hand holding and that little back rub and foot rub, which you haven't given me foot rubs in a long time, Brian. Just throwing that out there. I might need that.
I did one not that long ago, and I remembered thinking, wow, I haven't done this in a while. So
no, physical touch is my first one, and quality time is number 2. But I mean, they're neck and neck, like they are. So it's super important to me. So I'm going to need you to run some errands with me today, Brian, and hold my hands while we're walking through The store.
Okay. And if I
And
was
what are
running
yours?
errands without you, that would be acts of service. But since I'm
Because
running
you're
them
doing
with
it,
you,
you're doing it
it's
for
quality
me.
time.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's good. Yeah, I'm pretty similar as far as how important quality time is for me. It's actually my third.
Yes.
Words of affirmation. So being told how much I'm appreciated and loved and cared for.
Thank you for running those errands, Brian.
Yes, that's what I need. Thank you. You just filled my love tank.
Yeah.
And then physical touch is number 2 for me, and which is your number 1.
I'll give you a hug and a
obviously.
kiss for doing that.
And I will accept that. And then quality time is number 3, and so those 3 are very high. Acts of service and gifts are kind of a distant 4th and 5th. So very important to me. But again, just like I think Heather said, making sure that you know your own, make sure that you know your spouse's, communicate about that, and always be thinking about what your spouse needs. Because again, if quality time is not high on your list, but it is on theirs, that's going to take a little bit more effort on your part. But you can do it. You certainly can.
It takes good communication about how you can do it, and then learning developing some new habits to figure out how you can just pour that love into your spouse by giving them that quality time. It's like learning a new language, which Gary Chapman talks about in his book. It's learning a new language, and it's your love language. And if you love that person, then it's worth it to do this.
Yep, that's right. But we don't live in utopia. We don't live in the land of unicorns and rainbows. And sometimes in the real world, things get in the way.
Yes, they do.
We have distractions. Yes. We have obstacles. And that can really put a damper on quality time. So that makes it a little bit more important to
very true.
Make sure that we are thinking about these things, because if we don't, they can really get in the way. I think one of those is obviously technology. I mean, it goes without saying. It's the phone. We can all get caught up. And, I could be sitting here scrolling, and Heather wants to say something to me, and I kind of look up and give a, huh? What?
Okay, so just be real here for a second. Sometimes I say something like, I'm going to talk to you about this when we can put the phones down, or something like that. I do make mention that, like, the phones are going to need to go down for this.
Right.
Yeah.
I've even had this thought. I haven't implemented it yet, but of when I come home, putting the phone in a lockbox, maybe putting the lockbox up on the top floor, putting the key to the lockbox in the basement, and then I spend most of my time on the main floor. So if I really have this desire to get my phone, I'm going to have to walk down and get the key in the basement. Then I'm going to have to walk up 2 flights to open the lockbox and get the phone out, and then come back down to the main. So this is a lot of work.
Did you dream that idea up while you were out for a run or something?
I did. Yeah.
No, that's...
I come up with a lot of world... I solve world problems. Yeah.
Yes.
On my runs.
You could just give me your phone, and I'll give you mine for, a little while when we first get home, so that we're not...
Yeah.
checking it constantly. But no, technology truly does get in the way of good communication and just really spending quality time with each other. So what else gets in the way?
Kids, obviously. I mean, we talked about that a little bit before. They take a lot of energy, a lot of effort, especially when they're younger. They need...
Driving them here and there.
Yeah, extracurricular activities, you're right.
Helping them with homework.
Dinner. Getting them cleaned up, getting them put to bed, temper tantrums. Oh my gosh, the list goes on.
On and on, yes. And that's not a bad thing. Like anything that we're mentioning here, like it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that it is in the way of that quality time happening.
Yep, that's right.
So.
Taking work home is another one.
Yeah.
We hear that from a lot of couples, that especially ones that are very busy, maybe have very professional lives.
Right. Gone are the days of the 40-hour work week, because you take it home with you.
Yeah, that's right. It's unfortunate. I know people in more of a blue-collar industry that maybe repair cars or do things like that can maybe better switch work off, because it's not possible to really bring that home.
Not bringing the car home.
Yeah, but... a lot of us, work with computers and technology, and unfortunately, it's very difficult to shut that one off.
But there's also that exhaustion that comes from working so hard all day, whether it's physical labor or brain labor. Is that even, I don't even, does that make
Sure,
sense?
why not?
Does
You
that
just
make
created
sense?
a new phrase.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Wow, that'll be in
It's
the
going to go hot.
dictionary.
Yeah. So, but there's that exhaustion, physical and emotional exhaustion that we have when we come home. And it's just like, I just need to be left alone. Like, everybody leave me alone. I need to go sleep or something and just be by myself. And you've got everything pulling on you. So that can absolutely get in the way of quality time with one another.
Yep. Hobbies is another one that can get
gets
in the way
too.
You know, and speaking of my little car repair I mentioned earlier, you can't really take that home as your job, but yet if you love to do that, you can find 4 or 5 hours in the evening to go work on the engine while you're, I mean, I'm being a little sexist, I guess, assuming men do this, women can, but you know,
I'm not.
I was going to say your wife being inside, or it could be your husband if you're a female and like to work on cars. But yeah, that's something that hobbies, you know, that can get in the way.
Hobbies, yeah, they can.
Selfishness. This is kind of not really a tangible thing that you can really point
That's
to,
a sticky
but
one.
It's a little bit of an internal kind of mindset.
It is. I think that all of us have this selfish nature. We're born with it. And, you know, our pastor says, if you don't believe that we're born with selfishness, he says, go work with the toddlers in the nursery and you'll see it. You'll see that
That's
selfishness. Right. And they scream and cry so that their needs are met, kind of a thing. And so we do have that in us. And sometimes we just need to check ourselves and like, am I being a little selfish right now? Because maybe my spouse does need a little bit of help with something, or I just need to go love on them or something, whatever it is. I think becoming self-aware can go a long way.
Yeah. And I caught myself in a little bit of selfishness this morning.
Selfish?
I didn't realize it until after. So
I know what you did. Go ahead.
Is it when I went to the grocery store?
No.
Oh, well, that's what I was
when you
thinking.
drank my coffee I made.
Oh, that's. Well, so what I was thinking about, so wow, I've been doubly selfish. What I was thinking about is I called you and said, I'm getting ready to go to the grocery store. I want to pick up a couple of items that I wanted.
You did.
I did not ask you, is there anything you would like? Is there anything we need? And then I hung up the phone.
Oh, and you did actually say I went to Starbucks before I went to Bible study, so I'm not going to go to Wawa on the way home. You did say that too. Do y'all hear the selfishness here?
Yeah, there was a lot of selfishness.
Okay. You need
in
to
my
go pray.
actions. So I will say, when I walked into the grocery store, I did realize, I did not ask her. Now, I don't know if you remember the old, I feel like we're driving off a cliff here, and we'll get back. We'll steer back here in just a second. But
y'all don't tune us out yet.
Yeah, but we used to live next to a grocery store where you would walk inside and you had no phone service. And so it was this habit of like, once I walked inside, I can't call my wife and ask her something. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use that as my excuse for why I didn't call you, even though I remembered inside the grocery store what I was doing or what I had not done. So, okay. All right.
He's really not in the doghouse for that. Like, I wasn't even upset.
Yes.
Because he did make another pot of coffee for me. So
that's right.
That was good. That was good. Yeah.
So we just talked about the obstacles to and distractions to getting into the way of quality time. I mean, I know we need to talk a little bit about, how do we fix that? What do we do? You know, what do you think? I mean, do you have a couple of, good ways in which we can figure out how to figure out this quality time? I will say we have to make time, right? I mean, it has to be a priority.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it does have to be a priority. And it was once, which is why you got married and loved each other so much, because it was such a high priority. And, through all of these things of, having children and jobs that can take your time and all of these other good things that can be happening, church and maybe volunteering and school or like whatever it is, these things are not bad, but they get in the way, and the effort that you've put into it, into quality time, diminishes. One of the things that we like to talk about with our couples we work with is what was told to us one time, couch time. When you both get home from work, you make it a point to spend 15 minutes together on the couch, sitting side by side, sharing about your day, debriefing, sharing about like what needs to happen tonight, like even like, is there somewhere that you've got to drive the kids? Is there something, that you need to talk about that's going to happen with dinner, before dinner, after dinner, whatever it is? Maybe one of you got a text or an email about something that happened with one of your kiddos, and you need to chat about that to be a united front with each other before you go hit that incident, whatever it is, head on, or whatever it is. You're spending 15 minutes with each other, and you can even tell the kids, hey, this is mommy and daddy time. We're going to be better parents to you. But that's going to happen because you're going to go upstairs into your room and you're going to chill out for a little while. And then, give us 15 minutes, and then you can come down and then you have time to love on the kids, and they have time to love on you. But your marriage comes first. Backtrack that. God comes first and then your marriage. Then your children.
I'll pray for you after the episode.
Stop that. But you've got to take that time to debrief with each other and listen to each other, not to problem solve. If they talk about like what happened at work that was so awful and bad, but just to debrief like we did yesterday. I came home from work and Brian needed to just vent. He just needed to vent, and he needed me to listen. I wasn't problem solving. That's not what he needed. He literally just needed to vent. And so he felt better because he was allowed that time and space to do that. So I just recommend you trying this, of just debriefing with each other and giving each other a hug, praying for each other, and just loving on each other. Spend that time together and see if that makes a difference in the smoothness of the rest of your evening, as you all kind of go nuts of tackling everything that has to be done with the kids, with the homework and the cooking dinner and driving a kid to soccer practice, like whatever it is. I really think that's a way that can just put out so many potential fires.
Yeah.
Just by saying the 15 minutes,
right.
That's what we need. You do need it. And you may think, all I can do is 5. Great. Start with 5.
Right.
Just do something like that. Put that priority on each other.
Yeah. And what I will say, I know might be some of you listening that say, you know what, I talk to people all day long, and sometimes when I come home, I just need a little bit of alone time to decompress.
That is true. That's so valid.
Right.
Introverts need that.
Right. And so, and that's completely understandable. And so we're not saying that you have to, as soon as you walk in the door, it's immediately couch time. It's immediately the 10-minute time. It might be, a little bit later. It might be even after dinner. But it's really important. So try to figure out some time in there to get that couch time, that 5 minutes, that 15 minutes together, where you can debrief a little bit. It's very important.
It really is.
No doubt. And so, as we like to do, I know we want to talk a little bit about a biblical, did I say that right? Application for quality time. And one of our favorite stories really does talk a lot about that quality time. And so, I wanted to make mention of a story about Jesus and his disciples. I think from what I remember, they were kind of going from town to town. It's in Luke chapter 10. And they were going from town to town, and Martha, I don't know whose house, I don't know if it was Mary or Martha's house, but one of them invited him in, and they were preparing for, I believe, a party, and Mary just kind of dropped everything, and she sat and listened to Jesus at his feet, while Martha continued to kind of scurry around and was trying to prepare things and get things done.
Got to get it ready.
And actually, I'll read you the passage. It's just 5 verses. It's Luke 10:38 through 42. It says, as Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. And then the Lord said, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. And then he says, Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. And so in that moment, it was most important that Mary spend the quality time with Jesus. I don't know, Heather, would you agree? I mean, of course, things need to get done. We need to serve others. We need to help. We need to figure things out.
And that's what Martha was more concerned about, where Jesus is like, I just want to be with you. I just want to spend time with you. And Martha didn't see it that way. She was more into being, I guess, the hostess with the mostest and making everything good and perfect. And, because it was Jesus, who wouldn't want to give their best to Jesus? So I think her heart was into giving her best to him, which is, what we do want to bring to Jesus, our very best. But what more importantly was just come as you are and sit at my feet. I want to spend time with you. I want to love on you, and I want you to love on me.
That's right. And I actually have an example of exactly this story in my own life. It was several years ago. I had visited a friend. It had been years since I had seen this friend. It was a couple, and came in, and for a moment, both of them sat down with me, and literally within just a few seconds, the female popped up and said, I've got to go work on some things. I got to go take care of some cleaning. So it was exactly the same story, and I'll never forget it because I do. It always felt like, wow, you don't have time for me? I mean, it's been so long since we've seen each other. So, yeah, it really is something that stuck with me. So, again, kind of the message here is, put life's chaos and stuff down just for a little bit occasionally.
That dirty floor is going to be there tomorrow.
Yes,
might not need to mop it right now. That lawn is going to be there tomorrow.
That's right. The blades of grass will grow a microscopic little amount tomorrow, but that's okay.
Those weeds that are growing, well, if they're all green, it's going to look just like grass.
Right, exactly. So, but the cool thing, just to wrap this up, the really cool thing about this story that I did not know, that when I read a little bit more about, was just fascinating to me, is that back in the day, in this time, when an individual would sit with a rabbi, it was mostly a disciple. Well, it could be anybody, and if you were kind of anybody, you would have to sit in a chair. If you were a disciple, somebody that was really following this rabbi, you would actually sit at his feet. And back in this time, that was always men. And this is really cool because it was Mary, a female, that sat at his feet. Jesus didn't say, wait a minute, you're female. You got to get up. This is not allowed.
The law didn't matter for this.
Right. The law did not matter. Just another example where, again, quality time for the Lord was so much more important than rules and obligations and things we've got to get done. So
that's good.
Just an amazing story.
That's good.
So I think with that, I think it's probably time for us to wrap this thing up and go spend some quality time together. Would you agree?
I agree, and I hope that after listening to this, you'll be encouraged to go and spend quality time with your spouse. And you may be thinking to yourself, but I don't know how to do that. We don't have anything in common, or it's just been so long. Maybe you're in that stage to where you're looking at each other like they're complete strangers. So I encourage you to go to the website, to lovehowdeep.com/date night. We have on there some great activities that you can do. Check them out. And they're kind of, there's, I guess, what do you call them? Like conversation starters, different ideas, things that, we're suggesting that you go and do that may feel forced. It may feel weird or awkward, and you may still feel like, but I don't know this person. This is just weird. This is stupid. We just say, go and do it. And be open-minded and open to each other, and just say, you know what? All right, fine. I'm going to go try this. And if it's a flop, it's a flop. But I'm going to put my all into it, because sometimes I think that's what it takes, is putting your all into something. So I definitely encourage you to go check out the date nights page and on the website, and download some different things, and just go for it. Just jump in the lake with 2 feet.
Yeah, I love those that you've come up with. They're pretty simple, to be honest. I mean, they're profound but simple. So it's a lot of things like, taking in nature, maybe staying at home, spending some time in your backyard. Again,
going for a picnic.
Yeah, exactly.
And what you could do after that picnic, I thought was really fun. Almost some of the ideas kind of taking you back to your childhood.
Right.
There are some questions on there that you can ask each other. Just kind of think of it as like getting to know each other all over again, because sometimes we need to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And you are actually coming up with more and more as we speak. I know they're not all there yet, but there's plenty.
They're not
out
on
there.
On there. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a few more. So
I do.
Stay tuned for that.
Keep
checking the
back.
page. But yeah, lovehowdeep.com/date night. Date night's all one word. And so with that, we thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're so excited that you've chosen to listen to us. And as we keep going here, we're going to continue to bring you great content. We've got some great guests coming up that we're working on lining up that I think you're going to be very pleased with. So anything else that you have to say, Heather?
Nope, I don't think so. I don't know.
Let's go spend some good quality time together.
Just spend some time together. It's so worth it, and it will do so much for your marriage and for just your own heart. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Take care until next time.